Any rest I experienced lasted only so long before I started looking for some relief. It was food, candy, then books and movies, anything to escape. Then as I got older, I soothed these feelings with drugs and alcohol. As the need to self-soothe took over my life, I would think thoughts like, if you had my life, you'd drink too. With the rise of social media, I saw everyone's best life. They didn't appear to have my pain and suffering. Why me? Why was I suffering? Then it became, poor me, poor me, pour me another drink. Alcohol had been a great reliever of pain and fear for many years, until the solution became the problem. By that time, I couldn't stop, and I had squandered years. I tried and tried to quit on my own, but always convinced myself I had control of it and began to drink again. Eventually, I resigned to dying an alcoholic because I didn't know how to live without it. A series of events led me to confess to my doctor, seek counseling, and a year later I was directed to a program and a community of people who loved me until I learned to love myself. They taught me that in every relationship, especially the painful ones that left me wounded, I had a part in it. I saw that I had become selfish and self-centered, my thinking twisted and distorted, only thinking of my own pain and suffering, never considering the pain and suffering I had caused, nor the needs or desires of others. With these new eyes, I looked at my relationships again, and following the direction of my new friends, began to see how one-sided I had been. I began to pray for help and guidance, to become mindful of my actions, to see how my words and actions have consequences in the world. I also learned that suffering is part of the bargain. That's life. We all have some suffering in our lives. I am not unique in my pain. It is felt or has been felt by all in my community. We can share our suffering with one another and be comforted. Some days when I am spiritually sound, rather than fearing pain and suffering, I recall that it comes and it goes. It is not here forever. And if I am honest with myself and others as I endure my suffering, I can grow and learn from it. However, when I am going through it, this can be hard to remember. By listening and learning from those who are success stories, I have gained perspective and simple tools to help me whenever I'm disturbed. I can pray about it, call a friend, or reach out to another in need of help. Being part of a community, someone else is always suffering. I can call them and listen to their problems. I can give them a ride or take them to a meeting, or I can just help with some simple chore. Helping others gives me pride of action and self-worth. If after all of this I've not gotten out of my head enough to find gratitude for my blessings, I start over. Take some action to do the next right thing, no matter how seemingly insignificant. I take action because if nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. Life is messy. Things happen and happen to us. But it is how we deal with what happens and how we get on with life that shows our character. Will we cut corners, blame others, succumb to self-pity, adopt a victim identity? Or will we take responsibility for our life, put a plan in place to better ourselves, our circumstances, and develop our character? Not to become another self-centered victim, but to be a success and an inspiration. There are two types of people in the world. There are people who try to scam and cut corners. And there are people who do the next right thing, who actively pursue their best life. The word right is key, because life is actually fair and will bless you as you have blessed others, and burden you as you have burdened others. The formula is simple. 1. Have integrity. 2. Deal with others honestly. 3. Drop self-serving, self-justifying, self-centeredness, and self-pity. 4. Learn that when you don't act rightly, it will come back upon you. And when you do the next good thing is given to you. And most importantly, know this: the evil that you do follows you. Therefore, own up and confess your sins. Set about repairing the damage you've done. Act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with God. If you don't, what befalls you in this life and in the next is your own damn fault. Afterword. It is one thing to be victimized. Bad things happen, and sometimes they happen to good people. But, no matter how good we convince ourselves that we are, no one is exempt from blame, from having done harm to others. No one who is capable of developing a victim identity is off the hook. There is a world of difference between being victimized and having a victim identity. One simply happens in a space beyond our control. The other is the result of believing another is to blame for what we ought to assume responsibility. As a general rule, where there is responsibility, there is maturity, power, and freedom. Where there is victimhood, there is none of these. This is why victims remain victims. Reluctant to take responsibility, they're denied the power that comes as a result of wielding responsibility. When we take responsibility for our life, we can do something to better it. When we take full responsibility, we can accomplish that much more. But if we are a victim, improving life is beyond our control, and change out of our reach. We need to learn to recognize this demon of self-pity, which may be easily recognized and defeated. We will know it by its fruits. It tries to convince us we are right and others wrong, that we are innocent and others guilty, that we are alone and no one understands, that we've done everything right and life just isn't fair. No one understands, right? Wrong. They do understand. The perceptive person understands. They understand that you are being manipulated, that you are blinded by your own version of reality, that you are hosting a pity party, preferring self-justification to self-accusation and victimhood to the truth. It is a tragedy of life, for sure. To live peacefully, we have to stop the blame game and take responsibility for our life. Otherwise, we will always be having an argument with it. We, of course, will always be right and life wrong. We will always be right, always be the one who did the right thing. Except for the fact that we were wronged by life, everything would have gone perfectly. That is the victim's story, their delusion, and they're sticking to it. Self-pity is both powerful and pitiable. But this demon is easily recognized and defeated. We have only to practice empathy instead of seeking out sympathy. We have only to accept our portion of blame instead of putting it on others, and seek the problem and solution there. So long as one defaults to self-pity and finds fault with everyone but oneself, one lives in the darkness, their whole life overshadowed by the need to be acknowledged as a victim.